Raider Nation, what's going on? We got some breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders are signing wide receiver Tyler Lockett. I talked about this last week on the Raiders Report, and if you're not already subscribed, make sure you click that subscribe button. That way, anytime news happens, you never miss any of it. So coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you what I think that this move means for the Las Vegas Raiders from top to bottom, and I'm just going to try to make sense of what the Raiders are doing here. So first off, I think the very first reason why this move ends up going down is because you know Tyler Lockett's connection with Pete Carroll. You know his connection with Geno Smith. And if you don't already know how important connections are to this organization, here's just yet another example that this is going to be a team that brings in guys that have a connection. And for Lockett, he was selected in round 3 of the 2015 NFL Draft by Pete Carroll, by the Seattle Seahawks, played underneath Carroll from 2015 to 2023, and Lockett and Carroll are really, really good friends. And they've been really good friends even after, Pete left the Seattle Seahawks. Now, a few weeks ago when I talked about why the Raiders could potentially make this move, I said that first reason, to me, this means Jacobe Meyers is getting traded. And I keep saying it over and over and over again, but for a team that's 2-5 coming out of the bye week, I don't really understand why. You're going to go out and you're going to add a veteran wide receiver, and I get it, because what does this team care about? They care about their investments, and the two biggest investments you could argue that this team made this offseason was Geno Smith and Chip Kelly. I know Chip Kelly was the highest paid OC, and $6 million isn't a ton of money when you talk about a lot of money in the NFL, but at the end of the day, that is what's going to be the reason probably why Pete Carroll is able to keep his job or not in 2 to 3 years down the road, right? But Geno Smith, good friends with Tyler Lockett, needs to get some chemistry going. They need a wide receiver, but it's not only just in case Jacobe Meyers is traded. The Raiders also told you earlier this offseason that they wanted a veteran wide receiver in Amari Cooper. The problem was Amari Cooper got too fat and he got too lazy and he wasn't able to make it work. So, the Raiders have already told me that they wanted a veteran wide receiver to have on this team. And Tyler Lockett is much better than Amari Cooper, no doubt about it. I mean, Lockett was a player that we talked about over and over and over again during the offseason of, I think that this is going to be a player that the Raiders try to bring in. Lockett did end up signing with the Tennessee Titans last week. He asked to be released by Tennessee, and now he finds himself in Las Vegas. What I find interesting is I don't know if Lockett wanted to come to the Raiders or if he was trying to go with another team. And I say that because, when you listen to a lot of the reports, it sounded like Lockett wanted to play for a winner. Maybe Lockett was just done in Tennessee, wanted another chance to go play with somebody else. Maybe nobody really gave him a shot because there's a lot of receivers out there on that trade market. And then he goes, all right, well, I'm going to go back with Geno. I'm going to go back with Pete Carroll. And if I can get that team rolling, Tyler Lockett's going to get a big payday, I'll tell you that. Now, what I want to know from you down below is, was this a smart move by the Raiders to go out and sign Lockett? Give me a yes, give me a no. My answer is going to be coming up here after this YouTube ad break. The reason why I'm going to sit up here and say I actually don't think it is a smart move, and there's two ways that you can answer this, right? There's the first way of going, if you're going to sit up here and you're going to tell me that the Raiders are going to win football games this season because this is a move that says we are trying to win now. This is a move that says, hey, this is a coaching staff that believes that we can still win football games coming out of the bye, and we are trying to win. Pete Carroll keeps telling you, we are trying to win football games. The problem is, I just don't know if the Raiders are anywhere close to being able to win football games. Now, if Tyler Lockett is the thing that snaps the fingers and Geno Smith plays the way that Geno Smith's supposed to play, and this offense is supposed to move the way that this offense is supposed to move, well, then it's worth every single penny. Maybe I'm just at that point in the season. I know it's only week 9 technically. We're still in week 8, and I'm going to be going live for Monday Night Football later on today. But, the Raiders have so many issues wrong with this team. Call me crazy. I don't think that we are a Tyler Lockett away from getting this thing going. So where I'm a little bit frustrated, and I think where some Raiders fans are going to be a little bit frustrated are, it's a rebuilding year. Why not play some of your younger guys a little bit more? Why not give extra opportunities to Dante Thornton Jr., who clearly needs extra opportunities and is still a very unpolished product? You give more opportunities to a player like Jack Besh. Jack Bech was drafted in the second round. He hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities, and he still clearly needs to grow. I don't know what the exact contract details are. This has not been reported yet. I can't imagine it's going to be very, very expensive. I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around that vet min at this point in the season. He's probably making $2 million for the rest of the year, and that's not quite the vet min, but again, it's not a lot of money. But to me, I'm sitting here going, well, wouldn't it make more sense for us just to save that money and try to apply it to next offseason where, we actually have a shot to go get it? But to me, the Tyler Lockett signing means one thing and one thing in particular, and I'm going to tell you that here in just a moment. Before I do, though, got to give you a shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Now, I was going to make a Prize Picks lineup this morning for Monday Night Football, but as you can tell, I literally just woke up to the news. So if you guys want to get a lineup in for tonight, hey, Commanders, Chiefs, can't wait to see what happens. I know yesterday I did a stack with Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson. I made a little bit of money, but I did not get my Bijan touchdown, which was killing me. The bottom line is this. Raiders didn't play yesterday. I was able to watch football, and I was a happy camper while I was doing it. But if you still want to be able to watch baseball, if you want to be able to watch football, if you want to be able to watch basketball and have that opportunity to put a little bit of money in your pocket, then download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And if you don't know what Prize Picks does, they do flex plays, they do power plays, which really gives you the flexibility to pick how you want to play. So what I like to do is flex plays. I like to do 5-player flex plays, and then if all 5 hit, I make it's like $10, sometimes up to like $80. But if I only get 4 out of the 5, I'll probably end up going home with like $20. It really depends how you make your lineup and not. But this time of the year, I think is the best time of the year for sports. I think it's the best time of the year for Prize Picks. So, all right, let's get in now to why Tyler Lockett is really going to impact this team and, what else this means. I think when you look at this move, I do really think that this means a Jacobe Meyers trade is going to happen because Jacoby's been asking to get dealt. They were on a bye week this past week. There's a lot of rumblings right now around Pittsburgh. And after they just lost Sunday Night Football, that's a team that needs an extra wide receiver. I know the Buffalo Bills blew out the Carolina Panthers, but that's been a team very, very heavily connected to wide receivers. They definitely need an extra dude. The New England Patriots, I think, are always going to be a team to keep in mind just because of the connection with Josh McDaniels, Jacoby's connection with the New England Patriots. I mean, again, he still follows New England on Instagram. He does not follow the Las Vegas Raiders. So, I think that we have to be prepared for a potential Jacobe Meyers trade today because if I was Jacoby, I would want to get dealt this week. Because with the NFL trade deadline being on November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern time, the Raiders play that Week 9 game November 2nd. That deadline then is right there on the 4th, and I think for a Raiders team, I don't really know how much trading you're going to do from the 2nd to the 4th because you have to get prepared for your Thursday night football game up against the Denver Broncos. And, there's going to be a lot of fans that are like, oh, this team stinks. The move of signing Lockett tells me that, again, they're still trying to win football games. And if they're trying to win football games, then they're going to prepare for Thursday night football. And I think if any trades are going to end up going down, I think if a trade ends up happening, I think it's going to be today or tomorrow. That way you have a full week to be able to prepare. Maybe they do right by Jacoby. I know the Raiders don't really want to trade him, but this is a move that you sit back and you go, well, it kind of smells like a Jacobe Meyers trade here a little bit. Now, I know when it comes to Lockett, one of the things that I talked about last week when I really went into depth a little bit more here is the importance of this move working. And I don't really know if Pete and the coaching staff are totally numb to what's going on in that locker room, but there's a part of me that thinks that they are a little bit numb of what's going on in that locker room. And, I talked to a Raiders player over the weekend, and they were basically like, the bye week was a mental reset. We were supposed to, go home, kind of just not really enjoy our time, but enjoy your time, stay out of trouble. I forget the exact wording that I used yesterday in the video that I did. But they were essentially told hey, enjoy the bye week, it's your off week, stay locked in, make sure you're mentally reset, and we're going to come back and we're going to be firing on all cylinders, which is exactly what, a coaching staff should tell a team that, did have to practice 2 times during that bye week. But one of the things that's been going on is it's very similar to what happened with the McDaniels days. And I haven't talked to many of these players, and I haven't talked to some of the people that, shared some of this information with me when there was a lot more frustration after that Chiefs loss. And, there's been some frustration brewing up for quite some time, right? Jermaine Pratt is the perfect example of that. But I think one of my concerns right now is, you're coming out of the bye. You're trying to get going in the right direction. If you win, you're going to be okay. Winning solves everything. But again, beating the Jacksonville Jaguars and beating the 6-2 Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football, it's not going to be an easy thing to do at all. But what I am concerned about is you're bringing in another Pete Carroll guy. And we've already seen this staff, choose favorites with certain players. They have. It's the truth, whether you want to admit that to yourself or not. They have. And if this isn't going to be another example where they're going to choose favorites over a player and certain guys aren't going to have to compete, I'm telling you, it's going to rub some people the wrong way. But, Lockett has to play well because you can't keep on bringing in all of your Pete Carroll guys. You can't keep getting everything that you asked for and still be this horrifically bad. Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith need to play better. And, if it's 2 weeks and Geno's still not playing better, I think this cranks up the heat on him even more. I think it cranks up the heat on Pete Carroll even more. It's going to crank up the heat on Chip Kelly even more. Yes, in the short term, I do think the signing of Tyler Lockett should make this receiver room better. Yes, in the short term, I do think it's going to make our team better overall, but does it make us better in the long term? Because that's what I think is more important when you're talking about this regime. We got to get better in the long term. And I personally would say that playing Dante Thornton and Jack Besh a little bit more would help us out a little bit more long term. Though, if Pete's like, hey, Geno's our guy and we're Tyler Lockett away from fixing him in this offense, well, then I understand that investment on Tyler Lockett. So, all right, y'all, I'm getting ready to hop on out of here. Again, greatly appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning into this early morning breaking news. I am also going to be dropping a video here in a few hours around a safety that wants to play for the Raiders. I'll leave it like that. And I got asked a bunch about it yesterday, so I made a video about it. That's going to be coming out here in a few hours. But the breaking news is this: Tyler Lockett signing with the Raiders today, rejoining Pete Carroll, rejoining Geno Smith. We will see what that means for Jacobe Meyers. I was going to originally go live if the Raiders signed Lockett, but since this move happened at literally, I'm looking at 6 a.m., we're going to make this video. If anything else happens today, I'll be on the lookout. I don't technically have to go to work for a little bit later since I'm covering that Monday Night Football game. But if the Raiders trade Jacobe or if any other breaking news happens, I will be going live on the Raiders Report today. So again, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. If you want even more videos around the silver and black, make sure you click the subscribe button right here. I promise you I got you up to date. And this is a recommended video from YouTube that they're saying, hey, if you watch this video, you're going to like this one. And also this bad boy over here. If you enjoy Raiders content, I promise you, nobody's going to keep you more up to date than here on the Raiders Report.